Oops, sorry. Welcome, everyone, to Accomplices for Justice Weekly. This is our Futurama rep episode, for lack of a better word. Uh, we are we we are intent on building a future that has women and black people in it, even if Elon Musk is not. So that's our cue. I'm Jonathan Frierish, a rabbi here in Western New York, joined by my primary accomplice for justice, Pastor Wiley Hughes, who is senior pastor at Orchard Park Presbyterian Church, one of the leading Presbyterian suburban churches here in Western New York.
Yeah.
And we are joined by one of our biggest fans, Allison Hyde, who is also an Orchard Park person, only she is, I believe, technically a friend, right?
Yes.
Yes, Allison is a Quaker, and we love, as we joke in the Jewish community, some of my best Jews are friends. But in any event, our topic for today has been inspired in my mind by the work of Jill Lepore, who did a massive, wonderful eight-part series on Elon Musk and science fiction and fantasy and comics. And we're going to start with this crazy idea, this absolutely nutty idea. Turns out Elon Musk is a super sci-fi fan, and one
Mm,
of the things that Killer talks about is the degree to which he tells a good story, and that story, as it changes and evolves, has been the story that's fueled SpaceX, and the story that's fueled Tesla, and the story that has maybe sort of uh, sputtered out at Doge, thank God. But in any
huh.
event, at the heart of this story, right? Remember, Elon Musk sent a Tesla into space.
Yes, he did.
He sent a Tesla into space, and in that Tesla was a copy of Isaac Asimov's Foundation.
Hmm.
And on top of that, Elon Musk has promised to name the ship that he travels on into Mars Heart of Gold. Now,
Hmm.
this is a deep, deep dive in sci-fi for anybody who knows anything about sci-fi. It's deeper than I would have known were it not for Professor Lepore's excellent scholarship.
Yeah.
Because he also is a sci-fi fan, and it
Right.
turns out Heart of Gold is the name of the ship of Zaphod Beeblebrox. Now,
Hmm.
I am pretty sure that most of us don't know off the top of our head who Zaphod Beeblebrox is. Zaphod Beeblebrox is the galactic president who's stolen the ship Heart of Gold, a
Hmm.
spacecraft equipped with the infinite improbability drive
Mm.
in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series written by Douglas Adams, which started as a radio show and was broadcast during the youth of Elon Musk in Pretoria, since it turns out Elon Musk is, almost exactly my age,
Mm.
uh, really giving bad testimony to what Gen Xers are doing for the world. Uh,
Yeah.
but in any event, Hitchhiker's Guide for the Galaxy, for those of you who don't know, is a spoof. It is satire. It
Mm.
is satire of Isaac Asimov's The Foundation.
Yes.
And Zaphod Beeblebrox is satire of one of the protagonists in that series.
Yes.
And on top of it, he is a clod, a bumbling fool that Elon Musk reads as if he were a hero.
Right. Right.
So,
And in I'm sorry to cut you
no,
off.
go, go, go,
And
go, go,
and
go.
within the Guide to the Galaxy, Zaphod is the most self-delusional character. He he thinks of himself as a hero, and he's the only one in the galaxy who does. Everybody knows he's an idiot, except for him.
So, so let's get our minds around the fact that supposedly the smartest man in the world, who is, for the moment, the richest man in the world, who was idolized and helped elect our current president with an infusion of cash to the tune of something like
Yeah,
$250 million,
yeah.
who bought his own social media platform to the tune
Hmm.
of $44 billion and then ruined it,
Right.
is being motivated by a poor reading of science fiction that is,
Hmm.
in fact, subjecting us to an unironic world where the vision of that science fiction world, right? The Isaac Asimov world, and I'm a big fan of Isaac Asimov, but Isaac
Hmm.
Asimov is not perfect. As
Right,
as we have gathered, in Isaac Asimov's future, not only are there no powerful women, there are no black people.
right, right. And it's interesting that when the live action series, when they made a series out of the book, starring Lee Pace and some other people, they included some people of color, and there was so much backlash. There was so much backlash about there was like two, maybe I think there were two characters, two, just just two, and they people just had a fit about these two black women, and I'm like, wow, it's an entire universe, people. An entire universe. You mean to tell me there are no black people allowed
Well,
in
so
the
so
future?
let's get personal here. For me, one of the motivating aspects of sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, you know, as somebody who started reading these things in the 1970s, was a vision of a better future.
Mm,
A vision of a future that I had a part of, and that it wasn't just me, but everybody had a part of.
right.
Right? I had an egalitarian view of the future fueled by sci-fi,
Hmm.
even poorly thought through sci-fi, because let's be honest, while Star Wars is a key element of my personal mythos, there weren't that many black characters in Star Wars either.
Right,
And
right,
and 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 the main female lead is Princess Leia.
right. I'm
Yeah,
trying to think. Yeah, there's only one black character,
Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams. Yeah, he was the
Yes.
only one.
Lando
Yeah.
Calrissian.
Yep.
Which I can't say correctly because, of course, only Billy D. Williams can say it correctly. Lando Calrissian. So,
Yeah.
so recognizing that we have a future that in our minds, I mean, what, you're also a sci-fi fantasy comic book fan.
Yes.
Tell me how you were motivated as a kid, as a young adult, as a growing adult, as we are to this day,
Hmm.
by such visions, such ideas.
It turned me. Well, I grew up reading Isaac Asimov and Robert Heinlein, and it never occurred to me as a kid to think to think of things in terms of race. It never occurred to me. Just as I read books, and still to this day, I just imagine the characters, and in my mind's eye, they looked like me. And it wasn't until I started reading books by people like Ursula Lee Guin and Octavia Butler and some other people that they began to describe their characters the color of their skin. And that's when and I didn't notice until that moment, that up until that point, most of the books that I were reading were written by white people, and so therefore the characters themselves were probably white in the author's eyes, which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem if you're a white person and you write a novel or a science fiction work and the characters are all white. I don't have a problem with that because I understand that you're painting a world, and the world is always going to is going to be shaped by your lens. My problem has always been when authors decide to create characters of color, the pushback, the backlash. That's what I have a problem with. Ursula Lee Guin wrote several series of books, and she was very specific about making the antagonists as countercultural as possible. So in one series, the protagonist was a woman, and one series the protagonist was an older black man. I mean, and so she was very intentional about that. And I thought that was fantastic. But a lot of people didn't like that. They didn't. They questioned her. Why does he have to be black? And she's like, why can't he be black? Why can't these characters be black? Why can't these characters be women? Why can't a woman be the hero? It's the future, right? Like you said, the future was supposed to be better, right?
Right.
It's supposed to be something that we're supposed to aspire to. And so you'd think that we would aspire to be inclusive and egalitarian in our vision of the future. But apparently we're not there yet.
Well, and that's so as a kid, I was really like I well, let me step back. As a finishing rabbinical student, as a 28 and 29-year-old, I wrote a faith statement, a which was the requirement. Our senior paper was a faith statement.
Mm-hmm.
And my faith statement was how my worldview, my theology was grounded in Dune and
Aha.
Star Wars, and that I basically created a theology, and later I taught it, a theology based on Yoda and Obi-Wan in The Empire Strikes Back.
Awesome.
And so I even have the paper lying around here somewhere. But the point being that I believe very strongly that fiction in specific in general and sci-fi and fantasy in specific are meant to have us envision for good and for ill what the future might be
Hmm.
as a cautionary tale. And in this way, I tie it to prophetic literature because,
Okay.
of course, the classic prophets, one of the big challenges between in Jewish Christian conversations is that when many Christians understand prophets as people who are future tellers.
Mm. Hmm.
And in Hebrew scripture, the word prophet and the word seer are different.
Right.
Somebody who tells the future is a seer.
Hmm.
Somebody who tells us what's wrong with the now is a prophet.
Hmm.
And
Right.
so I think sci-fi and fantasy are prophetic in that they are not really telling us about the future. They're telling us what happens if we
Right.
do X, Y, or Z in the now
That's
and
right.
where it's going to
Where
lead.
it's going to lead. It's very prophetic. Yeah. Octavia Butler, the series Parable of the Sower, is prophetic, and she talks about it. The arc of the entire series starts from current events and how those current events play out and all of the and so yeah, it's very predictive, very, very
Because
predictive.
what Isaiah is saying and what Ezekiel is saying is
Mm,
things are going to be bad if you continue to suck.
that's right. That's right.
If you continue to be a terrible person as a leader, you are going to ruin our country.
Right. Yep.
That is the prophetic voice.
Yep.
They are now critics, warners of the the outcomes of bad behavior in the present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why we have utopian and dystopian sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look at a classic sci-fi person like Isaac Asimov or Arthur C. Clarke, they are more likely to portray a better future because they feel like technology will make things work out better.
That's right.
You take a Robert Heinlein, and he's less optimistic.
Right. Right.
Frank Herbert also less
Less
optimistic.
optimistic.
And then
Mm-hmm.
you start incorporating Margaret Atwood and
Mm-hmm.
Octavia Butler and Sherry S. Tepper and Ursula Le Guin and all of the women who open up sci-fi in the 60s, 70s, and 80s
Right.
and 90s and then move into the N.K. Jemisin world,
Right.
right? Then what we're seeing is, hey, wait a second. We're all, if good, bad, or indifferent, we're all going to be in this future.
Mm-hmm.
We have to write about a future in which all of these people exist. We have to write a fantastical worlds based on, there's a there's a series based entirely on African mythos.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I forget the author's name, which
Um, Tomi Adeyemi.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
he's great.
Yes.
So
Fantastic.
right, envisioning an entire world based on, you know, the African mythologies,
Right.
which is, eye-opening for those of us who don't spend time in those mythologies, and thank
Exactly.
God, right? We
Right.
want to be exposed to it. And
Right.
again, it's when we read these things, we decide whether or not they're good by whether or not the people who are in the situations that are different react as we imagine people might.
Right. Right.
Right. So, one of the things that's astounding about Ursula Le Guin is she comes up with, visions of the future for other with races who think differently than we do.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm reminded of the book Winter that she wrote. Did you ever read that one?
I haven't read that one, but Left Hand of Darkness was the one I was thinking of,
Oh,
where
yeah, that's the book. Left Hand of, I keep calling it Winter because that was the name of the planet. But yes, the Left Hand of Darkness, where the people are, they
with
change their
gender and sex all the time.
gender. Yeah, 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 yeah. Fascinating book. God, I've read that book so many times. It's so fascinating.
Right. And of course, The Dispossessed, which is about a world uh, of functional anarchy.
Right.
But what we need to incorporate when we think about the future is what if the people who currently are not in power might
Mm-hmm.
actually do if we were more egalitarian in sharing of power.
Right.
And, you know, what was powerful for me about Frank Herbert and Dune and the the Fremen as a group of freedom fighters
Mm-hmm.
is just as powerful looking at the work of Sharius Tepper and what happens when you have a gate to women's country where you have
Right.
a world where women's welfare comes first.
Right. Right.
And what we are lacking, to take us back to Elon Musk and our current situation, is a vision for anything but, what did you call it? An incel world.
Right. A planet of incels. Yeah.
And and we need to recognize that we should not be structuring society or the ideas of society based on the worst of our feelings about ourselves at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I am feeling bad about myself, I should not be crafting policy or a worldview that will solve my immediate depression.
Right. Yeah. It's very selfish and self-centered.
So here's so we are beginning to talk about what next. What do we do to get out of this particular situation?
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to focus on better stories
Mm-hmm.
that and we need to put shine the spotlight when a story is misused, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my favorite books in all time is this book, Nietzsche's The Use and Abuse of History.
Okay.
And I was just going back to it because I haven't read it in years and years and years. And so Nietzsche says, um, first of all, he quotes Goethe to start out. I
Mm-hmm.
hate everything that merely instructs me without increasing or directly quickening my activity. Let me read that again. I hate everything that merely instructs me without increasing or directly quickening my activity,
Interesting.
right? We need instruction that inspires us to move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Nietzsche's contention is that when we use history to pacify ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is the MAGA uh, politics of eternity
Right.
thinking, right? That history is only serves to tell us how great we are
Mm-hmm.
and not does not inspire us to move and do better.
Right.
Whereas history should be like anything that we talk about, should be something that inspires us to get it right in
Right.
the future,
Right. Exactly.
to correct what we've done for the sake, not because we suck, but because we haven't succeeded yet.
Right. We still got ways to go. Right.
And this goes directly to sort of our contention with book banning and I'm reading another book by what's his name? Stanley. His last name is Stanley. He is focusing on fascism and education.
Oh, oh boy.
It's called Erasing History,
Mm-hmm.
and by Jason Stanley, I think it is. Yeah, Jason Stanley, Erasing History: How Fascists Rewrite the Past to Control the Future.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when we pacify our history, and we don't talk, right? So the Florida, don't say gay and other things is
Yeah.
about making people comfortable. We don't want people to feel bad for being descended from people who own slaves.
Right.
Actually,
Right.
no, I want people to feel bad about being the heirs of
Yeah.
a system that enslaved and profited over
Right.
other people's exploitation. And then I want us all to do something about it.
That's right. I mean, because that emotion, that feeling of, okay, call it guilt, call it contrition, whatever that is, it's supposed to motivate us to do better, right? If you feel bad about it, then do something about it. If you feel bad about your ancestors owning other human beings, then do something to address that so that you don't live with the guilt. But what we're seeing is people who are saying, well, I don't want to feel guilty, so don't talk about it. You know? So how do we improve? Right? How do we get better? It's like it reminds me of what Ibrahim Kendi said about um being an anti-racist and basically bringing up these historical bringing up historical evidence of racism in the past. He said that for him to do this is to talk about the triumph of America and not so much the failure of America. Is to say that yes, these things happened, but look at how far we've come. Look at the efforts that have been made to make those things right. And so it's not to 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 punch down on America. It's to say, yeah, this happened, but look how far we've come. And yes, we have farther to go, but it's the catalyst for positive change that we're just not seeing.
So if we take Ibram Kendi and take, President Obama's "yes, we can"
Mm,
attitude to say, okay, who do we need to talk to next? How do we start conversations with young people in high schools and grade schools and colleges about, you know, telling a better story? A
mm,
story that incorporates the stuff that we need to feel bad about, and a story that tells what we can do about it. Right?
mm,
How do we show up at a school board with young people and say, "Hey, wait a second, we want to tell these stories. We want to make a curriculum out of banned books
mm.
in
Well,
our
I mean,
community."
I think that's a great first step is to talk to the young people because the young people know this. The young people understand this. Whenever I um talk about history to younger people and say, and give them some historical information, they're always fascinated. They didn't know that. And then, well, why don't we know that? Well, because they're not teaching it to you. Okay, well, they should. So the young people understand that there's a part of history that they need to know if they are going to grow up in a good and just society, or if they're going to make a lasting change in our society for the better. They need to know this history. And so, what better way to what better platform than coming from the mouth of kids themselves?
Okay, so I have an idea. And and I'm going to invite Allison in because I want to hear Allison's ideas about this as well. Um, what if we have, right? We had reading hours in libraries run by trans reading hours, right? Pride reading hours that created protest,
Mm,
and we're trying to counter this banned book movement, but also do something more than just counter it, do something progressive. What if we began a "We Are America" reading hour
mm,
in local libraries and local uh, schools and said, look, we're going to come in and we're going to bring in two stories. We're going to
mm,
bring in a story about who we really have been as Americans and who we really hope to be as
mm-hmm,
Americans.
mm-hmm,
And and we're gonna crowdsource among our people, the people who we're already connected with, what those stories might be, right? What's what's a story for, because a story that works for third graders is not going to be a story that works for eighth graders. It's not going to be a story that we want to talk about with college freshmen and everything in between.
Right.
But I think we could do that. I think, here we are, a Presbyterian pastor and, a relatively progressive rabbi, and we're going to come and we're going to talk about who we've been and who we want to be.
Mm.
And we're going to do it starting this summer in local libraries when kids need things to do. We're going to do it starting in the fall and talk to, because we have no civics curriculum.
No, we don't.
Mm-mm. And what happens if instead of saying everybody needs to study this, we say, hey, come, let's learn together
Mm.
who we are and who we hope to be.
Right.
Let's have that conversation. And here are some stories that we can tell about this. And
Mm.
maybe we have to write the story.
Maybe. Maybe. But I mean, that's the power of anti-racism work is in the story, right? I mean, that's the story. That's sort of where it all starts, right? Let's hear this story, and what the story does is it humanizes everyone involved. It humanizes the people who have been dehumanized, but it also humanizes the people doing the dehumanizing, right? And says, hey, we're both human beings here. Let's look at each other as human beings.
Because wouldn't it be powerful if you and I tell a story of, you know, some of our potential ancestors, right?
Hmm.
Uh, a pre-Civil War ancestor of the Hughes family,
Hmm.
you know, who may or may not have been a freedom fighter, who may or may not have been an abolitionist, who may or may not have been a slave, but an enslaved person, but who was somebody prior to 1860 in this country.
Right.
At the same time, I could tell the story of the rabbi who was pro-slavery,
Mm. Interesting.
because Jews in the 1850s were worried that if slavery were outlawed, that Jews would be next.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then and then we could tell the st and then we could tell the future story
Hmm.
of, you know, inspired by maybe Kim Stanley Robinson's idea of, he has a um a book entirely about, um a what if the UN put together a department, and the UN whose entire portfolio was protecting the future.
Hmm.
That is protecting future citizens.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a very interesting book. He started writing. Kim Stanley Robinson made a big name with, the Mars trilogy.
Oh yeah, I knew the name sounded familiar. Yeah, Red Mars,
Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue
Green Mars.
Mars.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Okay.
but his
Wow.
more
Yeah, I
recent
read Red
book,
Mars
which
book.
is really astounding, is called The Ministry for the Future. And
Aha.
and the Ministry for the Future is tasked by the UN to actually have unborn children, as it were,
Mm.
as their constituents.
Mm.
And they start with, uh, by making money by, in fact, collecting on real carbon credits.
Hmm.
So they create a carbon exchange, a real carbon exchange, and so that, they that's how they fund their entire budget.
Hmm.
And, uh, and he talks about what it would be to reverse, global warming through a variety of technological fixes.
Hmm.
It's a
Hmm.
fascinating book. Maybe actually, okay, here's an interesting idea. Okay, so uh, because we've been searching around what to do next.
Mm.
And I think what to do next is really to start sharing our story in person, in places. And who do we share it with? Well, story time at the library is a good start.
Yeah.
And story time at the library also becomes story time at the school board and
Hmm.
story time at city council, and story time in at lunchtime in the college quad, and story time at at kindergarten or at AP US history classes.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I think we need to start telling better stories.
Yeah.
Yes, Allison.
I really like the idea. And I think that you might find a great connection with the Buffalo Literary Society that does Babel.
Uh-huh.
And they have young people,
Yes,
Mm.
they
uh,
do.
teenagers, who could help tell stories and really connect with younger kids or kids their age. So
I love it.
that's a
Yes,
suggestion.
they are great.
They are.
And uh didn't they just bring the author of James into town this week?
Well,
That was this
yes,
week.
yes, that is true. That is true.
That I think is this week, right?
Hmm.
Yep.
Do you know that book?
No, I don't.
I want to,
Ah,
yeah.
so this is um one of one of the best books of the last year or so. So Just Buffalo Literary Society is at justbuffalo.org,
Hmm.
and oh no, they're bringing James McBride into town. Sorry, and that's
I
next
think
Wednesday.
I think they have talked about having the author of James and
Okay.
everybody's not right now, but another time.
Another time, but James McBride, who wrote the Heaven and Earth grocery story, but um,
Oh, okay, okay.
but James is by Percival Everett, and
Right.
and and James, if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it. But I recommend doing a twofold read project. I recommend rereading Huck Finn
Okay.
and then reading James, because
Okay.
James is Huck Finn from the perspective of Jim.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Oh, it's so interesting. So, okay. Now, we had done this kind of as a book club before. I wonder, God, Pastor Hughes, I would really love to hear your response to James. Man.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I
So,
will I will add that to the pile.
well, I'll tell you how I did it. Elijah Wood does an amazing audio version of Huck Finn,
Hmm.
with all the accents and everything. He does it.
Hmm. All right. I'm gonna look this up.
So I listened to that first, and then I read James, and James is powerful, a powerful
Hmm.
book. So because uh, what Percival Everett imagines is how enslaved people had to have a learning culture underneath it. And
Hmm.
remember my insight recently that white powerful American men have never actually wanted public education.
Right. Right.
That's from my rereading of Huck Finn.
Mm. Yeah. Oh gosh. Were we having that conversation before?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, we did have that conversation before. Like that was never the intent for everyone to be educated. Yeah.
No, and this is and it's like one of those correctives we need to inject into society when everybody says that public education is an American ideal. No.
No, it's not.
The only people who have thought public education was an American ideal were enslaved people, women, minorities, and immigrants,
Yep.
who are
Yep.
all attached to the idea that that education is for advancement. But the American patriarchy hates public education because they don't want to share anything.
Right. Right.
All right. So, um, okay, yeah, we should partner with Just Buffalo Literary Society. We should think about now we've got a couple of projects, and these, see, Allison, you are here for the gestation of what comes next for Accomplices for Justice.
Yep.
We had this weekly half hour exactly for this purpose of us having regular conversations to try to figure out what comes next. And here
Hmm.
I think we have a what next. I'm in fact going to go back to Humanities New York with this what next because I think this becomes something that they would want to do.
Hmm.
Um, but boy, there's a project for the two of us having a conversation about Huck Finn and James in high school classes. And the two of us having a conversation about ministry for the future
Hmm.
as a follow-up for what the future might look like. Because we need, and then N.K. Jemisin as well.
Yeah, I'm putting this in my Amazon cart as we're talking.
Well, actually, what you should do is you should put it in a Talking Leaves cart. So do you know Talking Leaves?
I do not.
Okay, so Talking Leaves is one of our amazing local independent bookstores.
Oh, okay.
And I bet they would partner with us on this.
Oh, okay.
And not only that, I'm working on a podcast with my mother on her book recommendations.
Okay.
So because and we could talk to Burning Books and the other local bookstores. Because I think part of what you and I, Pastor Hughes, have been doing is there's a whole lot that we ought to know out there. There's a lot
Right.
more reading that we haven't done, and we've been inspired by books.
Right. Right.
And we've been selective, right? It's not just any books. They have to be actually, books that challenge us.
Right. Right.
And of course, our friendship began because you recommended books to me and I took you seriously.
Exactly. Yes, you did. Which I'm very I'm proud. I'm proud of you because I feel like, books for me sort of is a mirror and reflection of me. And so for you to read a book that I recommend is like giving you a piece of me. And so now that's how we know each other
But this
much
is
better.
this is so key, right? Because we talk so often about what it means to build trusting relationships.
Hmm. Hmm.
And how do we do that? Well, we do that because we say, "Hey, wait a second. I trust you so much that I'm going to devote some time to something that you think is important."
Hmm. Right.
And for people who read, which we hope to be everybody, there's no greater gift to somebody else than saying, "Hey, you recommended this book, I'm going to read it."
Right. Right.
So, all right. We have our marching orders. Allison, thank you. I'm going to have to, I have some phone calls to make.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
you want me to wait on my Amazon order?
I want you to wait because I
Okay.
think we need to find other ways to source these books.
Okay. All right.
I think, I think I would, you know, I think Amazon is wonderful, but Jeff Bezos is not. And,
Uh,
and,
understood. Understood.
and while I have plenty of Amazon points and I'm still an Amazon Prime member, I'm really trying to figure out what a world without Amazon might look like.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should talk about that. Because you know pockets of the internet that I don't know, places where we can get books. So yeah, let's talk about that in the future and see what we can come up with.
Well, I mean, it's a much smaller take on looking at a better future.
That's
What
true.
does a
That's
future
true.
without
A
Amazon look
future
like?
without Amazon. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the thing. And we haven't talked about Afrofuturism, and we haven't talked about how important Black Panther was as a comic book and has been as a movie. We haven't
Right.
talked about all of the ways in which these also have not filtered into the vast American consciousness as optimism, but instead as something to be feared. And
Right. Right.
and and that, I mean, so this is the beginning of a much bigger conversation.
Hmm. I agree. I agree.
Wiley, thank you.
Thank you.
And if anybody wants to join us regularly, like Allison just did, feel free to make a material donation, also known as give us money. Contribute at opendoorjudaism.org. That's the way to, and then you will get an invitation to this. We will always be broadcasting live on Facebook and saving it and putting out on YouTube and on podcasts. We look forward to seeing everybody next week. And for now, we will say farewell, and I will